right,
Well,
all right, all right. Hey, Joel.
hey, how's it going, David? Welcome everyone to another lively discussion here on You Can't Make This Shit Up. Your host, David Washington. I'm your host from afar today, Joel Hoxley. You know, we're diving into the Miami Herald's fiery critique of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis titled, You've Been Warned. Man, five big accusations are thrown his way from quashing dissent to consolidating power. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to think, but I do want to raise some questions and challenge some assumptions. Let's get right into it, David.
Well, you know how I feel about DeSantis and his run for president. So I'm going to try not to talk about that. Now, Ron DeSantis as governor is a whole different story. And the five things that the Miami Herald talked about in regards to what Governor DeSantis has done to violate his own principles is quashing dissent, demonizing minorities, attacking academics, targeting the media, and finally consolidating power. I'll take that last point first. I mean, as a politician, at his level, I think that's what you're supposed to do. And if the media, if the public think differently, not every politician is like that, but at that level, it's a whole different ball game. And to see the power grab, to see the attempts to broaden his influence over Florida Republicans, particularly in the state legislature, is something to be expected, in my opinion. The rest of the
So,
stuff, it's his personal style, it's his personality, and it's something that will get the base all revved up and hopefully win super majorities in the legislature and the governor's mansion moving forward.
so I broke it down into some different categories, right? So I broke it down into freedom of speech, parental rights, rule of law, hypocrisy check, and focus on policy. That's kind of how I broke it down.
Okay.
So I say, for freedom of speech, the Herald paints DeSantis as an anti-dissent villain, but let's be honest. Doesn't he have the right to champion conservative voices? You know, is it quashing when he gives a platform to those often silenced in the mainstream? Where's the line between dissent and saying and say protecting our kids from harmful ideology in schools and corporations? So that's kind of where I brought that. I'm like trying to read this thing and I'm going, you know what? Doesn't he have that right to have that freedom to defend a part of our state that may be under not as loud and boisterous, but now the state's kind of going his way, right? The parental rights. Speaking of schools, the stop the Stop Woke Act might sound scary to some people, but let's face it, parents deserve to say what's on their children, what their children learn, right? Shouldn't teachers be free to inject their own? They shouldn't be able to put their own political spin on things. The rule of law. The Herald throws around some serious accusations here. They say DeSantis breaking the law with the suspension of State Attorney Warren. But let's not forget due process. This is totally, he's won this case, right? He's won so far. First of all, the first one goes to the wrong court. This one, let's let due process work itself out and see, has he used his authority correctly? We talk about the hypocrisy. Let's be honest. The Herald isn't exactly known for its conservative leanings. It's in any way. It's like, hey, don't you have your own hypocrisy here? And then let's focus on policy. Has he done anything outside of what he said he wants to do? Like, has he really strayed off? No, he's been right on. Whether I've agreed with him or disagreed with him, David, I've disagreed with the governor on many issues. He's not changed. Okay, now he's just doing it on 2 platforms.
You make a good point. He and his party are in charge. His agenda is going to be his agenda, and be it conservative, extreme conservative, that's debated. However, he is in charge, and he's bringing forth issues that he believes that are good for Floridians in general, but particularly interesting to his conservative base. And in regards to former state's attorney Monique Worrell, it is in his executive power to suspend a state official or a local official based on information that the governor's office and his aides believe warrants a suspension or removal from office. And given her record of cases not being resolved, or the state's attorney not moving forward with, the numbers are there.
Yeah.
And he made a decision. I know that liberals are arguing, due process. It was illegal. We talked about this very early
Yeah,
in the year.
you
We
you
saw it.
mentioned,
We knew
but
that it was coming.
right.
We
You
saw that.
brought this, yeah, David, you brought this up. I mean, you tried to point out to the Democrats, hey, this is coming, right? You tried to, we had an episode where we kind of point out, hey, if you look at juvenile, the juvenile cases alone, right?
Mhm,
And you compare her juvenile cases to, the 67, the 60, 66 other counties, right? But
mhm,
there was an issue there. If she was leaving herself open and vulnerable to this exact treatment.
mhm.
Um, so you 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 all it, this is why we call ourselves innovators, because you're in front of these issues. You're talking
Right.
about these issues. You're telling Democrats, hey, be warned. This is coming down the pike. She's leaving herself vulnerable. You're warning your own party. I'm over here warning my own party. Hey, look, if we continue to beat up on private business, we're not being conservatives that we're supposed to be, right?
Correct.
Let's stay in our lane. Government runs government. Business runs business. You can take your role and oversight maybe, but you can't tell a business not to protect their clients.
Mm.
So we do these things because we want everybody to be informed. So no, I don't mean to cut you off, David, but this is exactly why I appreciate working with you. And on these topics, we try to make sure that we're honest with uh, our own parties.
And if the liberals, the Democrats here in Florida, want to end the tyranny, again, the air quotes, of Governor DeSantis, then get good candidates to run for office and put the resources behind them. Chip away against the supermajority. Get people who will excite the electorate to come out to vote. Don't rely solely on a single issue like abortion to get people to come out to vote. You need to engage the public, and that includes those future leaders. Invest in those young future leaders who can speak directly to those voters that you're losing, those voters that you're losing in the Black community, those voters that you're losing in the white community, those voters that you've lost in the Hispanic community.
Yeah,
Talk about
that's
a big tent. Well,
you,
there's a lot of people who feel that the Big Ten is a little bit too crowded right now.
you make it. You make excellent points, and one of the things that you know Democrats need to really look at, why are Republicans doing so good on their voter registration? This should be everywhere else. It's not the same as in Florida. Like you have, Nikki Free. She only statewide elected official for for quite a while, gives up her seat to run a campaign where I can't even go into that because that's a fiasco in itself. Having a Republican beat your Nikki, and Nikki coming out and saying the very first thing is she wants to energize the party and wants to get in there and what was it? She wants to register voters and she wants to this big campaign to get everything. How are the numbers going up so exponentially for Republicans if this was your focus, Nikki? It's not. Something's wrong. Something's wrong in the Democratic Party. You got
Way to
to
point that out.
you got to assess it. You got to figure it out. We're bringing in more blacks. We're bringing in more Hispanics.
True.
We're registering them in greater numbers. Is that a Florida issue, or is it a Democratic Party issue? We have a
And
super majority for a reason right now, and it's not because we drew the lines. It's really because if it was just that, you wouldn't have a registration problem in the Democratic Party.
and the Republicans are to speak to the black population. The Republicans are bringing in more black men of affluence into the party. And I know we'll be talking about Representative Byron Donalds in one of our shows later. We spoke about him earlier this year as a future leader in Florida.
Almost speaker of the House. I mean,
Exactly. Right.
you can't shake you can't ignore the fact that the Republican Party has embraced diversity in certain leaders and saying, look, take this role, lead us to where we need to go, because we are not afraid to say we don't have all the answers.
Mm-hmm. And again, we're seeing more of the Democratic base or Democratic demographic leaving. And to speak to Ron DeSantis and why many blacks voted for him the first time he ran for office was the fact that he did as one of his legislative priorities was greater school choice, as mentioned just now by you in previous conversations. That triggered some type of reality for black parents to be able to take tax dollars and go to the school of their choice for a better education for their children. That was enticing and it helped, according to the DeSantis campaign at that time. And these are things I'm not a fan of, using tax dollars to pay for private school or anything like that. I'm a I'm a product of private schooling.
And I
However,
and it's funny. I'm public schooling, so it's kind of funny.
right.
I come from a liberal state, and I grew up in the public school system. I'm very aware of how
Mhm.
how parents feel about having that opportunity, because it's not something that's given to many people. And
And however, this war on minorities, on the LGBTQ IA plus community that the DeSantis administration has declared war on, there are things that people recognize from DeSantis and the Republicans that say, "Hey, he's delivered. They delivered. I'm going to vote for them." I think the other issues outweigh school choice and things like that, lower taxes, which is not true here in Florida. But again, people have their reasons for voting, and they have their reasons for reelecting Ron DeSantis, and he's running with it, and you can't blame him.
well, I think one thing that in Florida, where the Republicans or the conservatives have been very good at, is trying to remind the big tent that there are people in their tent that they probably disagree with, and as we point those things out, uh, we end up getting them to move to our side in the fact that, hey, these are your moral beliefs. These are the things that you believe. So why are you guys supporting X, Y, and Z?
Right.
And kind of chipping away at that cohesion that the Democrats have had. I mean, we still have it in many other states. We saw that in the last election. You know, nationwide, it's not the same, but we're starting to chip away at those, you know, weak points. So whether it's a war on, whether it's a war on whether it's a war, a battle, or just a, you know, a skirmish, uh, we're winning. As conservatives, we're winning we're winning this. We're winning this, and assessment needs to come. And the Miami, you know, the newspaper could scream all it wants to, but you got to get into the middle ground if you're going to be seriously taken. You know, if I take you serious, you know,
Indeed. Indeed.
you're no different than DeSantis. So that's my final word. I appreciate the article. I love to I love to see what the other side is thinking, because it makes me better prepared for where they're coming from.
And you all, our audience, our community, if you love what you hear, or if you don't, please let us know. Comment. We'd love to hear what you have to say. I just replied to a comment on one of our episodes. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Please comment, share your thoughts, bring your facts, not necessarily your feelings. We're here to have that conversation with you. We are your political innovators. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to The Informer. Look in the show description below, and there's a link to The Informer. It's our newsletter. It comes out every month, gives you a little bit more insight into what we do as your innovators, whether it's in the lane of politics, business, consulting, whatever. Please subscribe, come to our website, check out our blog. Tell us what you think. We want to hear from you. This is the Jay in Washington Network. Thank you, John, for producing this. We'll see you the next time.